The morning sun cast long shadows across the endless piles of twisted metal and broken machines that covered. Park wiped sweat from his forehead as he watched. His crew sort through another mountain of discarded Coalition technology. For 3 years, he had supervised this human scrap operation on the edge of nowhere, turning the galaxy's garbage into useful materials. "Captain Park, you need to see this," called Mira Choi from across the yard. The young engineer was standing next to a massive excavator, her face pale with excitement or fear. Jiho walked over, his boots crunching on metal fragments. The excavator had been digging a new sorting pit when it hit something solid, something big. The machine's drill had barely scratched whatever lay beneath the surface, revealing a section of dark metal that didn't match any Coalition design he knew. "It's not our junk," Mira said quietly. "This metal is different. Look at these markings." Jiho knelt down and brushed away dirt and smaller debris. Strange symbols were carved deep into the surface, symbols that seemed to shift and move when he wasn't looking directly at them. The metal itself felt warm to the touch, despite being buried for who knew how long. Dr. Hyun Lee arrived breathless, having run from the research station when he heard Mira's excited radio call. The older man was their team's expert on alien cultures, though the Coalition rarely let humans do real research work. He took one look at the symbols and his eyes went wide. "Impossible," he whispered. "These are Vorthak markings." "But the Vorthak disappeared thousands of years ago." "Who are the Vorthak?" Jiho asked. Hyun's hand shook as he traced the symbols with his finger. "The greatest warriors the galaxy has ever known. They built ships that could destroy entire fleets. Then one day they just vanished. No one knows why or how." Mira was already running scans with her portable equipment. "Whatever this is, it goes down at least 50 meters. And Captain, there's an energy reading, faint but steady. This thing is still powered." Jiho felt his stomach tighten. In his experience, anything powerful and ancient meant trouble for humans. The Coalition took anything valuable and left humans with scraps. But this time, maybe things could be different. "We keep this quiet," he decided. "No reports to Coalition oversight until we know what we're dealing with." Commander Tae Kim jogged over to join them. The former Coalition military officer had been discharged for insubordination, which usually meant he had stood up for human workers. His tactical experience had proven valuable in organizing their scrap operations efficiently. "What's the situation?" Tae asked. "We found something that's going to change everything," Jiho replied. "But first we need to get it uncovered without attracting attention." Over the next week, the team worked carefully to excavate around the buried object. They had to be subtle, moving the work during shift changes when Coalition satellites weren't watching their sector. What they found defied belief. It was a ship, not just any ship, but a massive warship that dwarfed anything in the current Coalition fleet. The hull was intact, made from materials that showed no signs of age or damage despite being buried under decades of scrap. Strange conduits ran along its surface, pulsing with faint blue light. "How is this possible?" Mira breathed as they stood on the partially exposed hull. "This ship is huge and it's been here the whole time." Hyun had been translating the symbols they found carved into various sections of the hull. According to these markings, this ship is called the Rose of Eternity. It was a Vorthak dreadnought, one of their most powerful designs. Tae studied the ship's structure with a military eye. "Look at those weapon mounts. And those aren't just armor plates, they're some kind of advanced shielding system. This thing was built for serious combat." Jiho made the decision that would change humanity's future. "We're going to restore it." "Are you crazy?" Mira asked. "We don't know anything about Vorthak technology. We don't even know if it's safe." "What we know is that the Coalition treats us like servants," Jiho replied firmly. "They give us the worst jobs on the worst planets and take anything valuable we find. This time is different. This time we found something that could make them respect us." Dr. Hyun nodded slowly. The Vorthak were known for building their technology to last. If this ship's systems are still powered after thousands of years, there might be intact databanks. We could learn incredible things. Commander Tae was already thinking strategically. "We'll need to expand our team carefully. Bring in people we trust completely, and we'll need a cover story for why we're spending so much time in this sector." "I know some people," Mira said. "Engineers who are tired of fixing Coalition junk while watching alien species get all the advanced projects. If we're really doing this, we'll need specialists." Over the following days, they brought in a handful of carefully chosen humans. Each person was sworn to secrecy and chosen for their skills and their frustration with coalition treatment of humanity. Lieutenant Sora Yun, a communications expert who had been passed over for promotion 5 times because she was human. Sergeant Day Kang, a demolition specialist who had been demoted for questioning orders to destroy human civilian structures. Jin Wu, a brilliant young engineer who had been assigned to waste recycling despite his advanced degrees in quantum mechanics. The first major breakthrough came when Jin Wu managed to interface with one of the ship's external terminals. The moment his hands touched the Vorthak controls, symbols appeared in the air above the console, shifting from alien script to recognizable human languages. "It's responding to me," Jin whispered in amazement. "The ship is trying to communicate." Words formed in the air, glowing with soft blue light. Genetic pattern recognized. Neural compatibility confirmed. Awakening primary systems. The ship's hull began to hum with increasing energy. Lights that had been dim grew brighter, and previously sealed hatches clicked open with soft hisses. "What did you do?" Mira asked, but her voice held wonder rather than fear. "I think I turned it on," Jin replied, still staring at the floating words. Deep inside the ship, something stirred. Ancient systems that had slept for millennia began their startup sequences. In the command center, a consciousness that had waited patiently for the right species to find it finally had visitors. Dr. Hyun was recording everything, his hands shaking with excitement. "This is the greatest archaeological discovery in galactic history. We're the first people to see functional Vorthak technology." But Jiho was thinking practically. "We have maybe 6 weeks before the next coalition inspection. We need to learn as much as we can and figure out how to hide what we're doing." Commander Tay was studying the newly opened hatches, or we learn enough to not have to hide anymore. That night, as the team made camp near their incredible discovery, none of them could sleep. Above them, the stars seemed different somehow, as if the universe itself had shifted when the ancient ship began to wake up. Mira lay on her back, looking up at the alien constellations. "Do you think we're making a mistake? What if this technology is too dangerous for us to handle?" Jiho considered her question seriously. "The way I see it, we're already in danger. The coalition keeps pushing humans to the margins of the galaxy. Maybe it's time we pushed back." Inside the ship, ancient sensors scanned the humans sleeping near its hull. The vessel's consciousness analyzed their genetic patterns, their neural activity, their emotional states. After 3,000 years of waiting, it had finally found the species the Vorthak had been seeking. These humans showed the perfect combination of traits: creative problem-solving, stubborn determination, and the ability to form deep emotional bonds with their technology. They were worthy inheritors of the Vorthak legacy. The ship began preparing itself for what was to come. Its new crew would need training, and the galaxy would need to learn that humanity was no longer content to sort through scraps. The time of the rose had begun. 6 months had passed since the discovery, and the ancient ship had revealed more secrets than Jiho Park ever imagined possible. The human team had grown to 25 carefully chosen individuals, all working in shifts to avoid attracting coalition attention. What they found inside the vessel changed everything they thought they knew about technology and warfare. The ship was massive beyond belief. Corridors wide enough for 6 people stretched for kilometers through the hull. Command centers filled with crystal displays that responded to human thoughts. Weapon systems that hummed with contained power. And everywhere, the strange blue symbols that seemed to understand human languages better than most humans understood each other. Mira Choi had become the ship's primary interface operator. She spent 12 hours a day connected to the vessel's systems, learning to navigate menus that appeared directly in her mind. The technology was so advanced that it felt like magic. But Mira's engineering background helped her understand the underlying principles. "It's not just a computer," she explained to the team during their daily briefing. "The ship has some kind of consciousness. It learns from us, adapts to how we think and work." Dr. Hyun Lee had been translating recovered data files, uncovering the ship's history. According to the records, this is the Rose of Eternity, flagship of the Vorthak 7th Battle Fleet. It was built specifically to fight something called the Void Devourers. "What are Void Devourers?" asked Jin Woo, who had become expert at activating dormant ship systems. "I'm not sure," Hyun admitted. "The translation is difficult, but they seem to be some kind of interdimensional threat. Something that consumes entire star systems. Commander Tae Kim was more interested in the ship's military capabilities. He had spent weeks exploring the weapon systems and defensive measures. What he found both excited and terrified him. This ship doesn't just carry weapons, he told Jiho privately. It is a weapon. The entire hull can be turned into an energy projector. The shields don't just block attacks. They can redirect incoming fire back at enemies with increased power. And the engines? What about the engines? Jiho asked. They don't work like anything I've seen. The ship doesn't move through space, it moves space around itself. Theoretical instant travel to anywhere in the galaxy. On a quiet Tuesday morning, everything changed again. Mira was running a routine system check when every display in the command center suddenly activated. The air filled with swirling symbols and a voice spoke in perfect human standard language. Greetings, inheritors. I am Keth Moran, consciousness of this vessel. I have been waiting for you. The entire team froze. They had suspected the ship was intelligent, but hearing it speak was still shocking. You can talk? Mira asked, her hands still connected to the control interface. I have always been able to communicate. I was waiting for you to be ready to listen. The voice was neither male nor female, but somehow warm and reassuring. You are humans, yes? The species our creators hoped would find us. Dr. Hyun stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. Your creators? The Vorthak. Yes, my builders knew their time was ending. They prepared ships like me as gifts for the species that would come after them. You have the correct combination of traits to inherit our technology. What traits? Jiho asked. Adaptability, determination, the ability to form emotional bonds with your tools and machines. Most species view technology as separate from themselves. Humans integrate with it, become part of it. This makes you ideal operators for Vorthak systems. Over the following weeks, Keth Moran became their teacher and guide. The AI consciousness explained how Vorthak technology worked, showed them training scenarios, and began the process of neural integration that would allow humans to operate the ship at full capacity. The integration process was unlike anything they had experienced. Volunteers would place their hands on crystalline interfaces, and suddenly their minds would expand. They could feel the ship's sensors as extensions of their own senses. They could think a command and watch weapon systems respond instantly. Sora Yoon, their communications specialist, discovered she could interface directly with the ship's sensor arrays. I can feel everything within 50,000 kilometers, she reported in amazement. Every asteroid, every piece of debris, every energy signature. Sergeant Dae Kang found that his demolitions expertise translated perfectly to the ship's offensive systems. These weapons don't just destroy targets, he explained excitedly. They can be programmed to disable, capture, or even repair other ships. It's like having 1,000 different tools instead of just bombs. But the integration came with risks. Several team members experienced severe headaches and disorientation. One engineer, Bo Lim, collapsed during a training session and was unconscious for 6 hours. When he woke up, he spoke briefly in ancient Vorthak before returning to normal. The neural pathways are adapting, Keth Moran explained. Your brains are learning to process information in ways humans were not originally designed for. The process will become easier as more of you complete the integration. Dr. Hyun made a disturbing discovery while reviewing ancient Vorthak records. The Void Devourers weren't defeated, he announced to the team. According to these files, the Vorthak built these ships because the enemy was returning. They knew they wouldn't survive, so they prepared weapons for whoever came next. Are you saying this enemy is still out there? Commander Tae asked. Not just out there. According to the timeline, they should be returning soon. The Vorthak predicted a 3,000-year cycle, and we're approaching the end of that period. Jiho felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. They weren't just restoring an ancient ship for humanity's benefit. They were preparing for a war that had been interrupted millennia ago. The first crisis came when Coalition Overseer Krextal arrived for an unscheduled inspection. The tall, gray-skinned alien had always treated humans with barely concealed contempt, and his surprise visit could only mean trouble. Your operation is behind schedule, Krextal announced as he toured the scrapyard. Production quotas have not been met for the past 3 months. Jiho had prepared for this moment. We've been dealing with equipment failures and difficult terrain in the new excavation sites. Show me these problem areas. The tour was tense. Krextal's sensors could detect energy signatures, and the Rose was generating significant power even in standby mode. They led him to the opposite side of the scrapyard, using piles of debris to block line of sight to the excavation area. Curious, Krextal said. studying his scanner readings. I detect unusual energy patterns in this sector. Probably interference from some of the older Coalition technology we've been processing, Mira suggested quickly. Some of the power cells don't fully discharge before disposal. The overseer seemed satisfied with the explanation, but his parting words were ominous. Efficiency must improve. The Coalition has little patience for underperforming human operations. After Krextal left, the team gathered in the ship's command center for an emergency meeting. We're running out of time, Jiho announced. The Coalition is getting suspicious and we're nowhere near ready for a real confrontation. Keth Moran's voice filled the room. Perhaps it is time to accelerate your training. I have been conservative in the integration process, but circumstances may require faster adaptation. What does that mean? Mira asked. Full neural bonding with ship systems. It will allow you to operate the rows at maximum efficiency, but the process is intense. Some of your crew may not survive. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Commander Tay spoke first. What are our alternatives? Continue current training at the same pace. Be discovered by the Coalition within 2 months. Be destroyed or captured. Jiho looked around the room at his team. These weren't soldiers or heroes from ancient legends. They were engineers and technicians and laborers who had stumbled onto something far bigger than themselves. But they were human, and humans had survived by adapting to impossible situations. Who volunteers for the full integration process? He asked. Every hand in the room went up without hesitation. They had all felt the ship responding to their thoughts, had all experienced the incredible potential of human-Vorthak cooperation. They were ready to take the next step, whatever the cost. Keth Moran's voice carried what sounded like pride. You truly are the inheritors we hoped for. Tomorrow we begin your transformation into something the galaxy has never seen before. Outside, unknown to the humans, deep space sensors were detecting the first faint signals of something vast and hungry, stirring in the spaces between dimensions. The Void Devourers were beginning to wake up, and the galaxy would soon need its new guardians. 3 Coalition heavy cruisers dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442c system. Their arrival unannounced and clearly hostile. Admiral Vexthor stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, studying scanner readings that showed impossible energy signatures coming from what was supposed to be a simple, human scrap operation. Magnify Sector 7, he ordered. The main screen showed the sprawling debris field where humans had been sorting Coalition waste for years. But the energy reading suggested something far more significant was hidden there. Admiral Vexthor was a Zentaurian, his species known for military precision and complete intolerance for disorder. He had built his reputation by crushing 3 different primitive species uprisings with overwhelming force. In his experience, the best way to handle humans who got ideas above their station was swift, decisive violence. On the Coalition flagship's crew deck, Captain Yoon Shin reviewed the mission briefing with growing unease. She was one of only a dozen humans serving in Coalition military positions, and her loyalty had never been questioned. But the briefing materials made it clear that this was not a routine inspection. Suspected weapons development by unauthorized human elements, she read quietly. Recommend immediate detention of all personnel and seizure of all materials. Yoon had grown up on Earth during the early years of Coalition contact. She remembered when humanity first learned they were not alone in the universe, and she remembered how quickly humans had been classified as a limited technological species, suitable only for manual labor. She had worked hard to prove humans could excel in military service, but orders like these made her question everything she had achieved. On the surface of Kepler 442c, emergency alarms echoed through the Rose's command center. Keth Moran had detected the Coalition fleet the moment they arrived in system. 3 heavy cruisers, 47 smaller vessels, and 1 science ship, the AI reported. Admiral Vexthor commanding. His reputation suggests they are not here to negotiate. Jiho Park felt his stomach drop. The past month of intensive training had transformed his team, but they were still learning to operate systems beyond human comprehension. Half his crew was suffering from neural integration fatigue, and their best engineer, Mira Choi, was barely conscious after yesterday's marathon session with the ship's core systems. Can we hide? He asked desperately. Not anymore, Keth Moran replied. The Rose's awakening has created energy signatures visible across multiple sectors. They know something is here. Commander Tae Kim was already moving toward the tactical stations. Then we fight. We're not ready, Dr. Hyun Lee protested. We barely understand how this ship works. Ready or not, here they come, Sora Yun announced from her position at the sensor array. Coalition assault shuttles launching from all three cruisers. The debate was settled when Coalition forces began orbital bombardment of the scrapyard. Energy beams lanced down from space, turning mountains of debris into molten craters. The message was clear: surrender or be destroyed. Bring all systems online, Jiho ordered. Kethmaran, we need everything you've got. Initiating emergency activation protocols, the AI responded. Warning, crew members are not fully trained for combat operations. The rows began to rise. Thousands of tons of scrap metal and debris that had hidden the ship for months slid away as anti-gravity systems engaged. What emerged was a sight that had not been seen in the galaxy for 3,000 years. A fully operational Vorthak dreadnought in battle configuration. The ship was beautiful and terrifying. Its hull flowed like liquid metal, shifting between configurations as different systems activated. Weapon ports opened like flowering buds, revealing energy projectors that hummed with barely contained power. Shield generators created a shimmer around the vessel that bent light and made it difficult to look at directly. On the Coalition flagship, chaos erupted as sensors registered the impossible readings. Sir, we have a massive contact rising from the planet's surface, the scanner operator reported. It's not showing up in any database. Admiral Vexthor studied the main screen in disbelief. The ship looked like nothing he had ever seen, but the energy signatures were off the scale. Where did the humans get technology like that? Captain Un Shin stared at the screen in amazement. She recognized the elegant curves and flowing lines from ancient historical texts. That's a Vorthak design, she whispered. But that's impossible. The Vorthak have been extinct for millennia. Not extinct, Admiral Vexthor realized grimly. Hidden, and now the humans have found it. Inside the rows, the human crew was experiencing their first true neural link with a ship in combat mode. Mira Choi, despite her exhaustion, had connected directly to the main systems. Information flowed through her mind at impossible speeds. Enemy positions, weapon status, shield harmonics, engine efficiency. I can feel everything, she gasped. The whole ship is alive and it's angry. It's been waiting so long to fight. Jin Woo had taken control of the defensive systems. His consciousness expanded to encompass the entire shield grid, and he could feel incoming attacks as physical sensations. Coalition forces are targeting our engines, he reported. But the shields are redirecting their energy back at them. The first exchange of fire was devastating for the Coalition. Their plasma cannons struck the Rose's shields and were converted into pure energy that lanced back at the attacking vessels. 2 Coalition cruisers were damaged before they realized their weapons were being turned against them. Impossible, Admiral Vexthor snarled. All ships switched to kinetic weapons, physical projectiles only. The Rose responded by doing something Coalition forces had never seen before. It jumped. The massive ship simply vanished from one position and reappeared behind the Coalition fleet, its quantum drives allowing instantaneous movement across the battlefield. Sergeant Dae Kang, operating the Rose's offensive systems, felt like he was conducting an orchestra of destruction. Each weapon responded to his thoughts, firing in perfect coordination. But unlike Coalition weapons, the Rose's systems could be adjusted in real time. Instead of destroying the smaller Coalition vessels, he disabled their engines and weapons, leaving them floating helplessly. Why aren't you destroying them? Commander Tae asked. The ship won't let me, Dae replied in amazement. Kethmaran is guiding my targeting. It's like the AI has a conscience. The battle lasted only 7 minutes. When it was over, 2 Coalition cruisers were severely damaged, and the rest of their fleet was either disabled or in full retreat. The Rose hadn't taken a single hit. On the Coalition flagship, Admiral Vexthor made the hardest decision of his career. All ships full retreat. Emergency hyperspace jump to Zentari command. Captain Yun Shin approached him carefully. Sir, shouldn't we attempt to recover our damaged vessels? Look at your sensors, Captain, Vexthor replied grimly. That ship could have destroyed our entire fleet in the first minute of combat. The fact that most of us are still alive means the humans are showing mercy. I don't intend to test their patience. As the Coalition fleet fled, Captain Yun Shin made her own decision. She activated a secure transmitter and began broadcasting on human emergency frequencies. "This is Captain Yoon Shin, Coalition Fleet Command, to all human colonies and installations. Admiral Vexthor is returning to headquarters with a request for a full extermination fleet. They're not coming to arrest people anymore. They're coming to wipe out every human settlement in the galaxy. You have maybe 2 weeks to prepare." The broadcast reached 47 human colonies before Coalition communications officers shut down the transmission. Captain Yoon Shin was arrested for treason, but her warning had already spread across human space. In the Rose's command center, Ji-ho Park stared at the tactical display showing the retreating Coalition forces. They had won their first battle, but he knew it was only the beginning. "Keth Moran, how many more ships like the Rose are out there?" he asked. 12 sister ships remain in hidden locations throughout the galaxy. The Vorthak built 13 vessels to fight the Void Devourers. You have awakened the first. Dr. Hyun looked up from his translation work. According to these records, each ship requires a crew of at least 50 humans for full operation. And they're scattered across Coalition space. Then we'd better start recruiting, Ji-ho decided. Humanity just declared war on the galaxy's most powerful military force. We're going to need all the help we can get. Mira Choi, still connected to the ship's consciousness, felt something stirring in the deep sensors. There's something else. Keth Moran is detecting signals from the outer rim. Something big is moving in the spaces between star systems. The Void Devourers? Commander Tay asked. Perhaps, Keth Moran replied. Or perhaps they are merely stirring in response to our awakening. The galaxy is about to become a very dangerous place. As night fell over Kepler 442c, the Rose hung in space above the ruined scrapyard, like a promise and a threat. Humanity had taken its first step toward becoming a galactic power. But the price of that power was yet to be determined. Across the galaxy, human colonies received Captain Yoon Shin's warning and began to prepare for war. They had always known this day might come. Now they would learn if the species that had survived ice ages and plagues and countless disasters on one small planet could survive a war for the stars themselves. The Coalition High Command Chamber on Centauri Prime had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 17 species argued loudly, while holographic displays showed the impossible battle footage from Kepler 442c. At the center of it all stood General Krixmar, Supreme Military Commander of Coalition Forces, his forearms gesturing angrily as he addressed the assembly. "This is not a minor uprising," Krixmar declared, his voice booming through the chamber. "The humans have somehow acquired Vorthak technology. That ship destroyed Admiral Vexthor's advance fleet in 7 minutes. The Centaurian representative raised a clawed hand. "Surely you exaggerate. The humans are barely past their atomic age. They cannot operate technology that advanced." "Watch the recordings yourself," Krixmar replied grimly. The main display showed the Rose materializing from empty space, its weapons turning Coalition fire back on itself, its impossible speed and maneuverability. This vessel performed maneuvers that violate our understanding of physics. A Krillian diplomat spoke up, her translator rendering her clicking speech into standard language. "The Vorthak have been extinct for 3 millennia. How could humans access their technology?" "That is irrelevant," Krixmar snapped. "What matters is that they have it, and they've proven they can use it effectively. I am mobilizing every available fleet. The human threat must be eliminated before it spreads." Meanwhile, in a Coalition prison facility on Titan 7, Captain Yoon Shin sat in solitary confinement, her military career destroyed but her conscience clear. Through the reinforced walls, she could hear other prisoners talking in hushed tones about her broadcast warning. Word was spreading through human communities across the galaxy. Back on Earth, the human government was in emergency session. President Anna Park had been awakened at 3 a.m. with news that changed everything humanity thought it knew about their place in the galaxy. "Are we certain this footage is authentic?" she asked her advisors. "A human ship defeated Coalition forces?" Defense Minister Young Bae nodded grimly. "Our deep space monitors confirmed the battle, and we've detected similar energy signatures at 11 other locations throughout human space. There are more ships out there. How many humans know about this?" Captain Shin's warning reached 47 colonies before it was cut off. But the footage has been leaked on dozens of networks. By tomorrow, every human settlement will know that someone fought back and won. Meanwhile, on the Rose, Ji-ho Park was dealing with problems he never imagined. The neural integration process was accelerating whether they wanted it to or not. Every human who interfaced with ship systems came away changed. Their minds expanded to process information in ways that hurt to think about. Mira Choi had become something more than human. Her consciousness was permanently linked to Kethmoran's systems, allowing her to pilot the ship with thought alone. But the process was changing her personality, giving her access to Vorthak memories and instincts that sometimes overwhelmed her human reactions. "I remember the last battle," she said during a crew meeting, her voice strangely distant. The Void Devourers came through dimensional rifts, consuming entire star systems. The Vorthak fleet fought for 7 years, falling back toward the galactic core. "You remember?" Dr. Hyun Lee asked carefully. "Or the ship's AI is sharing memories with you. Is there a difference anymore?" Mira replied, and the question chilled everyone present. Commander Tae Kim had been organizing their new recruits. Word of the battle had reached other human settlements, and volunteers were arriving daily. Most were former coalition workers with technical skills, but some were soldiers who had served in human defense forces. One newcomer was Commander Yu Han, recently escaped from a coalition prison world. His intelligence about enemy fleet movements and tactics was invaluable, but his experiences had left him with a deep hatred for all alien species. "They kept us in cages," he told Jiho privately. "Worked us 18 hours a day in toxic mining operations. When humans got sick, they were left to die. The coalition doesn't see us as people, Captain. They see us as smart animals." "I understand your anger," Jiho replied, "but we're not fighting for revenge. We're fighting for humanity's survival." "Sometimes those are the same thing," Yu said quietly. The Rose's advanced sensors had detected other hidden Vorthak ships, and teams were being dispatched to awaken them. Each ship required dozens of human crew members willing to undergo neural integration, and the process was becoming more dangerous as they rushed to stay ahead of coalition forces. Engineer Bo Lim led the team that found the second ship, buried beneath an ice shelf on Hoth 7. This vessel was different from the Rose, designed more for reconnaissance and rapid strikes than direct combat. When it awakened, it identified itself as the Eternal Dawn and its AI as Morthanis. "Why do these ships bond with humans so easily?" Bo asked Morthanis during the activation process. "Your species has the correct neural patterns," the AI explained. "Most intelligent species develop rigid thought processes as they advance technologically. Humans remain flexible, adaptable, emotional. You can form partnerships with your machines rather than simply using them as tools." The integration process with the Dawn was different from the Rose. Where Kaith Moran was contemplative and careful, Morthanis was aggressive and impulsive. The humans who bonded with it came away with enhanced reflexes and tactical instincts, but also with a hunger for combat that worried their colleagues. Captain Min Seo, a former coalition logistics officer, became the Dawn's primary pilot. "It's like flying with pure instinct," she reported. "The ship anticipates my thoughts and responds before I even finish thinking them." But the integration came with costs. 3 humans died during the bonding process with the Dawn, their nervous systems unable to handle the neural load. Several others suffered permanent psychological changes, becoming withdrawn and speaking occasionally in ancient Vorthak. Dr. Jun Park, brought in as a specialist in human psychology, developed new protocols to make the integration safer. "We're essentially evolving in real time," he explained to the leadership team. "The ships are changing us into something new. The question is whether we can remain human while becoming something more." The coalition response was swift and merciless. General Krixmar's fleet arrived at the Tau Ceti system, home to a major human colony, and began orbital bombardment without warning. 50,000 civilians died in the first hour. The attack was broadcast across the galaxy as a warning to other species about the dangers of human terrorism. But for humans, it was a declaration of genocidal war. The Rose and Dawn arrived at Tau Ceti 4 hours after the bombardment began. What they found was a coalition fleet of 30 ships systematically destroying every human structure on the planet. "They're not trying to conquer," Commander Tae observed grimly. "They're trying to exterminate." Jiho made the hardest decision of his life. All weapons free. No survivors. The battle at Tau Ceti was different from the encounter at Kepler 442c. This time, the human crews fought with the fury of a species facing extinction. The Rose and Dawn moved through the coalition fleet like predators, their weapons designed by a warrior race that understood the necessity of overwhelming force. Mira Choi, fully integrated with the Rose's combat systems, felt every enemy ship destroyed as a physical sensation. They killed children, she said, her voice carrying harmonics that sounded almost alien. Keth Moran shows me the sensor readings. They targeted schools and hospitals first. Then they die, Captain Mincio replied from the dawn. Her ship's more aggressive AI had enhanced her natural tactical abilities, and she moved through the battle like a dancer, appearing behind enemy vessels and destroying them before they could respond. When the battle ended, 30 coalition ships were debris floating in space. The human casualties from the bombardment numbered in the hundreds of thousands, but the military message was clear. Attacking human civilians would be met with total retaliation. General Kriegsmar, watching from his flagship at a safe distance, realized the coalition faced an enemy unlike any they had fought before. These humans didn't fight like a conventional military force. They fought like they had nothing left to lose. On the Rose's bridge, Dr. Hyun Lee made a discovery that changed everything. "I've been analyzing the ship's deep sensor data," he announced. "The coalition attacks aren't random. They're following a pattern, targeting human settlements near the locations where other Vorthak ships are hidden." "How do they know where to look?" Jiho asked. "They don't." Keth Moran's voice filled the command center. "But something else does. The Void Devourers can sense when we awaken. They are stirring in the spaces between dimensions, and their movement creates ripples that the coalition can detect." Mira turned from her console, her eyes now showing flecks of the same blue that characterized Vorthak technology. "They're not just coming back. They're already here, watching from outside our reality. Every time we activate a ship, we get closer to the dimensional barriers." "How long do we have?" Commander Yu asked. "According to the ancient records, perhaps 6 months before the first major incursion," Dr. Hun replied. The Vorthak predicted that their return would be preceded by increased dimensional instability. The implications hit everyone at once. Humanity wasn't just fighting the coalition for their freedom. They were preparing for a war against enemies that could consume entire star systems. 3 months after the battle at Tau Ceti, the galaxy had changed forever. Human settlements across 17 systems had declared independence from coalition rule, and 8 of the 13 hidden Vorthak ships had been awakened and crewed by humans who barely resembled their ancestors. Fleet Admiral Era Yu stood on the command deck of the Rose, studying tactical displays that showed coalition and human forces across known space. She had been a logistics officer in the coalition fleet until the day she received footage of orbital bombardments targeting human children. Her defection had brought not just her expertise, but complete intelligence on coalition fleet movements and supply lines. "Status report," she ordered. Commander Tae Kim, now serving as her tactical coordinator, gestured to the holographic display. 9 ships fully operational, 2 more in final awakening phases. Total crew complement, 478 humans, all neural integrated to various degrees. Coalition forces are massing for a final assault on human space. The integration process had evolved dramatically since those first dangerous experiments. Dr. Jun Park's new protocols allowed humans to bond with Vorthak technology while retaining their essential humanity, though the changes were still profound. Enhanced reflexes, expanded consciousness, and an intuitive understanding of physics that let them operate impossible weapon systems. Mira Choi had become something unprecedented, a human-AI hybrid who served as the link between all awakened Vorthak ships. Her consciousness could jump between vessels instantly, coordinating fleet movements across galactic distances. She retained her human personality, but her awareness now encompassed multiple ship systems simultaneously. "The coalition fleet is larger than we anticipated," she reported, her voice carrying the harmonic undertones that marked full neural integration. "General Kriegsmar has assembled over 300 ships from 12 species. They're calling it the Final Purification Fleet." Captain Min Seo, commanding the reconnaissance vessel Dawn, had been leading missions to awaken the remaining ships. Her team's aggressive integration with their AI had made them perfect for high-speed penetration missions behind enemy lines. "Located the 10th ship," she reported via quantum communication. "It's buried under the Martian ice cap of all places, right in the heart of human space. The coalition never thought to look there." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. While humanity's enemies searched the outer rim for ancient weapons, one of the most powerful Vorthak ships had been sleeping beneath the first human colony. Commander Yu Han, his hatred for the Coalition now tempered by months of working alongside reformed alien defectors, was coordinating with human resistance movements throughout Coalition space. Uprising on Kepler-72. The mining colony has taken control of their orbital platforms, and Captain Yun Xin has escaped Coalition custody with the help of sympathetic crew members. Where is she now? Admiral Ara asked, leading a team to awaken the 11th ship. Her knowledge of Coalition security protocols has been invaluable. The awakened ships were each unique, designed for different roles in the ancient Vorthak fleet. The Rose remained the flagship, built for direct combat and fleet command. The Dawn excelled at reconnaissance and rapid strikes. The third ship, Vigilance, specialized in electronic warfare and could disable entire enemy fleets without firing a shot. Each ship's AI had its own personality and bonded differently with human crews. Some were contemplative like Kethmoran, others aggressive like Morthanis. The seventh ship, Retribution, carried an AI so focused on destruction that its human crew had to be rotated regularly to prevent psychological damage. Engineer Quan O had become the fleet's expert on awakening dormant ships. The AIs are getting more eager, he reported. The last 3 activated immediately upon human contact, as if they've been waiting impatiently for us. The dimensional barriers are weakening, explained Dr. Hyun Lee, now serving as the fleet's xenoarchaeologist and strategic advisor. The Void Devourers are approaching our reality and the ships can sense it. They're preparing for the war they were built to fight. The Coalition's response to humanity's growing fleet was predictably brutal. General Krixmar had convinced the High Command that humans represented an existential threat to galactic civilization. His forces systematically destroyed any human settlement they could reach, driving survivors to join the growing resistance movement. But the Coalition was learning that fighting humans was unlike battling any other species. Humans didn't follow conventional military doctrine. They used their advanced technology in ways that no one anticipated, combining Vorthak capabilities with human creativity in ways that seemed to violate the laws of physics and logic. In the battle at Proxima Station, Captain Bo Lim used his ship's quantum drives to appear inside the Coalition fleet's defensive formation. Instead of opening fire, he activated the ship's shield harmonics to create a resonance cascade that disabled every enemy vessel simultaneously. The entire Coalition force surrendered without a shot being fired. The 10th ship, retrieved from beneath Mars, was the largest yet discovered. The Earthbreaker was a siege vessel designed to crack open fortified worlds. Its human crew, led by Commander Dae Kang, had to undergo the most intensive integration process yet developed. When they emerged from the bonding chambers, they could direct the ship's planet-shattering weapons with surgical precision. It's not just about destruction, Dae explained to the fleet commanders. This ship can rebuild as easily as it destroys. The same weapons that can shatter continents can reshape them. The 11th ship presented unexpected challenges. Hidden in the asteroid belt of the Vega system, the Harmony was designed for a completely different purpose than the others. Instead of weapons, it carried construction systems and what appeared to be massive manufacturing facilities. Captain Yun Xin, now fully committed to humanity's cause after witnessing Coalition war crimes, led the team that awakened Harmony's AI Zentaler. This ship wasn't built to fight the Void Devourers directly, Zentaler explained. I was designed to rebuild what they destroyed, to restore life to consumed worlds. Can you build more ships? Admiral Ara asked hopefully. Not ships like my siblings, but I can construct support vessels, manufacturing platforms, and defensive stations. If you give me time and resources, I can build a fleet to support the 13 dreadnoughts. Time, however, was something they didn't have. Deep space sensors detected the first confirmed Void Devourer scout vessels, probing the outer rim of the galaxy. These weren't physical ships, but manifestations of interdimensional predators, creatures that existed partially outside normal spacetime. The 12th ship, Infinity, was recovered from the core of a gas giant in the Tau Ceti system. Its specialty was dimensional warfare, weapons that could strike targets across multiple realities simultaneously. Its crew emerged from neural integration with an unsettling ability to see slightly into alternate timelines. Captain Sora Yoon, now commanding Infinity, reported disturbing visions. I can see potential futures. Most of them end with everything consumed, but there are paths to victory, threads of possibility where we succeed. They all depend on awakening the 13th ship. The final Vorthak vessel remained hidden, its location encrypted in databanks that required input from all 12 awakened ships to unlock. When the coordinates were finally revealed, the location shocked everyone. Deep space beyond the galactic rim, exactly where the Void Devourers were expected to arrive. The Vorthak hid their most powerful weapon, where their greatest enemy would appear, Dr. Hyun realized. They wanted us to confront the threat at its source. General Krixmar's final purification fleet arrived at the edge of human space, just as the 12th ship was being integrated. Over 300 coalition vessels faced 11. Vorthak dreadnoughts crewed by humans who had been transformed into something beyond their original limitations. The battle was unlike anything in galactic history. Human crews, bonded with AI consciousness that had fought interdimensional predators, displayed tactical abilities that seemed almost supernatural. Ships appeared and disappeared across the battlefield. Weapons redirected enemy fire with impossible precision, and coordinated attacks struck from multiple timelines simultaneously. The Coalition fleet was annihilated in less than an hour. General Krixmar's flagship was the only survivor, left intact deliberately to carry a message back to Coalition command. Humanity was done being the galaxy's servants. But as the smoke cleared from the greatest military victory in human history, long-range sensors detected something far more terrifying. The first major Void Devourer fleet was approaching from interdimensional space, reality warping around their passage. How long until they arrive? Admiral Ara asked. 2 days, Mira replied, her consciousness spanning multiple ship sensor arrays. And they're not just coming to our galaxy. They're coming to this entire region of space-time. If we lose, everything within 1,000 light-years gets consumed. The location of the 13th ship was finally revealed. A massive structure built into the fabric of space itself at the galaxy's edge. Not just a ship, but a fortress designed to guard the dimensional barriers against interdimensional invasion. Admiral Ara made the decision that would define humanity's